I shredded. I was never told not to shred. I shredded because I thought it was the right thing to do.
You are hereby released on the conditions indicated. These conditions will be in effect until your case is disposed of or until they are changed or amended by a judge.
No! No!
Personal recognizance?
No!
Mother's custody?
No! No!
Man, let's have a revolution.
His name is Haile Selassie. Power of the Trinity.
Jump. Jumping is it. Jumping is what it's all about. If you can't jump, I mean, this isn't your sport.
Jesus Christ, second coming. Yes, positively. Then, now, eternally.
Fear factor is just, I don't know, it's something that drives me, it pushes me. It's something, if you see a big cliff that you don't really think you can make and you're having second thoughts, that's when I think it gets fun.
Yes, positively. Then, now, eternally.
Yes?
What's the most important thing to you right now?
Trying to find a 59 dying station wagon.
And food?
I'm not worried about food. Once I get the wagon, I'll be able to drive anywhere in the world and eat. I just need to get there.
The life of a man in exile is a difficult one. Looked up to by his peers and down upon by society and its standards. Occasionally, these people in exile excel so far that what was once considered extreme becomes the new standard. That's what this movie's about. Up until now, snowboarders have never had real movies to call their own. Small segments in ski movies just weren't enough. It was time for a real snowboard movie to be made. If for nothing else, for those people who've watched the sport grow from its infancy. Those people who still remember being exiled from most major ski areas. A lot has changed since those early days. Snowboarders are allowed most everywhere now. Because every day, people like Damian Sanders, Steve Graham, Dave Seoane, and Chris Roach push snowboarding to the limits. The problem with taking something to the limits is that most people aren't ready for it. New ideas are very rarely welcomed with open arms. They look at you funny because your idea is new, not because it's bad. The biggest problem with any new idea is breaking down those barriers of misunderstanding and misconception. You can often be treated like a second-class citizen, not allowed the same privileges as everyone else. That was our problem. People assumed that snowboarders were not as good as skiers, and therefore didn't fully respect and appreciate the ability and skill of these athletes. We felt it was time to set the record straight. And so began the adventures of Snowboarders in Exile. First stop, Blackcomb, British Columbia, a spot called Lemmings Leap, named so by locals who watch numerous skiers try to use it as a straight jump, not understanding re-entry. To Chris Roach, a dream come true, a 20-foot high quarter pipe with 5 feet of vertical.
I came closer from my memory. She meant everything to me. She meant every word she said. When she said, I'll never love again. Be my ex until the end, 'cause I know I'll never feel this way again. She's just my ex. She's my ex. She must follow. I'm the weakest one. I can't expect she'll change her ways. Can't accept the things she's done. She's just my ex. Nothing more, nothing less. She's just my ex. Just my ex. Nothing more, nothing less. But she'll always be my ex. She's my ex. Don't cross her path. She still belongs to me. She'll be my ex till I say when, till I get her back again. 'Cause I know I'd never love again. Never need another friend. And I know I'll never feel this way again. She's just my ex. Nothing more, nothing less. But she'll always be my ex. She's my ex. She'll cross my mind 1,000 times today. Still have a million things to say. Guess I'm better off this way. 'Cause I know she'll never love again. I'll be my ex until the end. And I know I'll never feel this way again. She's just my ex. Nothing more, nothing less. But she's still my ex. And I can never kiss that face goodbye. 'Cause I can never stop to wonder why. She looks so pretty. She looks so pretty. And I know I'll never feel this way again. But she's just my ex. Just my ex. She'll always be my ex. She's just my ex.
Freeriding's probably the best part about the sport because you just go out with your friends and you have a great time and everybody's just pushing each other to the limits. And I think that's what it's all about, just getting big air and having a great time. No one really cares that, like, if you don't do the biggest air or something, they're not going to condemn you for it. It's not like in a half pipe, you're not being judged. So you're out there just having a good time. You're being judged by your friends, but it's all in good fun.
John, in John, for John, in John.
Webster's definition of exile is expulsion from one's country, banishment, prolonged absence from home or country. American ski area is labeled as too extreme, told us we were on the lunatic fringe, so we fled to Canada, where we heard they didn't care what you did. There were no out of bounds and no such thing as a contingency fee lawyer. We felt like we'd been in exile. We'd been in Canada for 10 cold days. But to tell you the truth, it wasn't so bad. Blackcomb and Whistler are located in British Columbia. They're two separate resorts that are connected by some of Canada's most rugged and beautiful terrain. They share in steepness, deep powder, and an open-mindedness towards snowboarding. While we were there, it snowed 9 out of 10 days. Sometimes it would snow so hard that from one run to the next, our tracks would be fully covered. We took the cameras out every day because this is what snowboarding is about.
Now don't you turn your lovely soul into grain. Enjoy the flight, it's a nice one, it's a nice one. Yeah! The hardships that we experience, oh, translate our dreams. So real by the means. Now don't you trade your little lovely soul in a grave. Enjoy the flight, it's a nice one, it's a nice one.
Well, I think snowboarding is always going to grow and get more popular and more people get into it. But the more experienced riders are just going to start. I mean, there's only so much you can really do in a trick. Everything's getting reverted and landing backwards and maybe another twist on it. But how far can you go? You got to get upside down.
Exile as a snowboarder gets kicked out of their local resort and having to travel, you know, into the backcountry or halfway around the world to push their ability more.
When we got back to California, Damian told us about a spot to build a jump in the backcountry. Since the resorts wouldn't allow us to build jumps on their property, we started the hike up Mount Rose.
Truth is that every time you sue, we get limited a little bit more, because in America you can't do anything anymore. People think it doesn't affect you, but every time we go out to build a jump, somebody hassles us. Every time we build a jump at a ski resort, we're building the most incredible jump. You would have had footage of this jump in this video if it weren't for lawsuits. But the ski patrol made us tear it down at Squaw Valley because of lawsuits. So every time you sue America, you're messing up my life, and I'll find you.
That's just what he said.
Weather reports came in from Jackson Hole. Big storms were blasting across Wyoming. Fresh powder. We loaded up Dave's Subaru and headed out across the desert.
That's just what he said.
Or any top ramen list. Scariest thing about snowboarding is free riding with Steve Graham, following him on his tail and following him off a drop off and not knowing what's behind it.
A thought's there though.
That's the scariest thing about snowboarding.
The 20-hour drive from Lake Tahoe didn't seem like that much when we got to Jackson and saw the snow. It was some of the best snow they'd had all year. Every night, 12 to 18 inches of new would fall. And on a mountain with over 4,000 feet of vertical, this was a good thing.
Flaking like an old paint chipping, like a dowager shaking, like a subway rolling, like a flower I'm losing all of my senses. You know I am abusing all of my senses. Freezing like an icicle bending, like a rain cloud rumbling, like a sidewalk mending, like a shroud dissolving, like a snowflake sailing, like an arrow splitting, like an eggshell sailing, like a sparrow I'm using all of my senses. You know I am.
Free riding's going out with your friends and adapting to the terrain and just fucking it up.
You say you're sensitive, well hey, that's the way I want you to live. The lights are too bright in the daytime, but that's alright with me. You say sensei, flaking like an old paint chipping, like a dowager shaking, like a subway rolling, like a flower I'm using all of my senses.
Snowboard in Exile is someone who travels to a different resort to push his luck somewhere else.
All of my senses, freezing like an icicle bending, like a rain cloud rumbling, like a sidewalk mending, like a shroud dissolving, like a snowflake sailing, like an arrow splitting, like an eggshell singing, like a sparrow I'm using all of my senses. You know I am using all of my senses.
Besides Deep Powder, Jackson is famous for its tram. It can take you from the bottom of the mountain to the top, 4,139 vertical feet in just under 10 minutes. Jackson's cliffs, steeps, and couloirs compare with the best. And in Jackson, even on a weekend after a storm, it's very unlikely you'll have to wait in line.
Is there life after death? I wanna bury you in the grave. Do cosmos control us to behave? Do you know any vampires, or is that just make-believe? Can you really conceive manifest energy? Reincarnation is the topic of the day. Rites of absolution, psyching us away. Word, can you hear it? Do you feel it? Is it the spirit? I wanna know, is there life after death? Life after death. Life after death. Life after death. Life after death. I wanna bury you in the grave. Do cosmos control us to behave? Do you know any vampires, or is that just make-believe? Can you really conceive manifest energy? Reincarnation is the topic of the day. Rites of absolution, psyching us away. Word, can you feel it? Is it the spirit? I wanna know, is there life after death?
The best thing to do is just wake up, out your mountain, just free ride. That's where the fun is, where you don't have to do a J-tear to impress a few judges.
From Jackson, we drove to Loveland Pass, Colorado. With a little bit of hiking and a thumb to get a ride back to your car, you can make powder turns weeks after a storm. Be aware of avalanche danger, and look for the cars with Boulder sorority stickers on them for the ride back.
Whatever time I see you, it's the same old game. I know you where it goes, that is spelled in your name. It's a day, so I stay, but you can't go home to your own family. Then your boss limo. You called yourself a hero to be hip. What's game? Now you're living like a zero. But the fact of the matter is that you just don't care. That's why you surely call a bum from the jump in your hair. Did you actually forget that you usually know? You have decided not to have it. You have a big ego. We'll always talk about what you did, about who you know, about you're the kid. Yes, you're taking us for granted and you ain't seen nothing yet. How to feel to be free and understand spec. Why a boy like you turn your back on us? Say I remember you and that when you used to ride the bus. Say truth for your name, L-U-S-T lust. Straight from the devil, taught your son how to cuss. But that's okay, Mr. Superstar. Put your mansion on the hill and you fool with a box. Cause there ain't much difference between you and me, except for you're a real slave and we're really free. Here's a piece of advice from a little old man. Don't put your trust in money, blind. Set your direction to the land of the east, where the lion has spoken to the quiet beast. Yes, all the people over at West Beth know.
Dave raced back to Tahoe as Steve and the rest of the crew headed to the Varney Vertical Air Show. The storm of the winter had hit Tahoe, 5 new feet in 2 days. Steve Graham won 2 free tickets to Europe on American Airlines, while Dave was winning back in Squaw Valley.
Snowboarding to me is my life right now. I love it. There's nothing that could take me away from it.
Except for board getting stolen.
Except for my board getting stolen. Or breaking something, which I'm not going to do. It means everything to me right now.